Good afternoon and welcome. Oh, I'm hearing myself repeat a little bit there. Just hold on 1 second. I think I might just see if I can change this over. It won't be one moment. How are we going? We've got sound now. I can just hear myself repeating a little bit on my phone. How's that? Can you let me know, please? Okay, I'm just going to go back to my intro again. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Michele. I'm an independent demonstrator. You've got sound great. Independent demonstrator here in New South Wales, Australia. So today's cards I'm basing on what I posted on my business page this morning, and that was about today being the International Day, Women's Day, and that the purple, green, and white, which are the colours for International Women's Day. The purple signifies justice, dignity, and being loyal to the cause, while the green symbolises hope and the white represents purity. So I did suggest in my page, on my Facebook page there, that maybe some of us could create some cards using those colours. So getting back to this is what we made this morning. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use these cards and make them in another colorway using the purples, greens, and whites. So I just wanted to show you what we're going to be looking at. I am going to change the stamp on it because that's out in another room where I hold my classes. Let me move those out of the road and I will show you what we're going to do. So I've taken 3 papers from the flowering, I never know whether I'm pronouncing this right, zinnias, which is this suite here, which of course has got lots of white, lots of purple, and lots of green in it. So I've taken 3 designer series papers and I've cut all 3 together down to this size here. So they're the 3 I've chosen. Now this one here does have a bit of the hot pink in it, but that's okay. I think with the purple we're sort of covering all our bases there. And I'm going to give you the measurements for these because lately I haven't been able to keep up with my blog. So if you've got the measurements, you know what I'm cutting. So I've cut all of those 3 at 8 by 12.4 centimetres. Now, I'm sorry I can't give them to you in inches because I'm not quite sure what they are. I've then cut myself some mats and they're just a little bit bigger and they're 8.5 by 12.9 centimetres. I do have my measurements here sort of just drawn onto my glass mat here. I've got some more basic white here, which I've cut for the inserts in my cards, which are 10 by 14.4. I've got some strips I've cut here, which are about 2.5 centimetres wide, and they're a lot bigger than what we need to finish this card. So I've got plenty there to play with. And then I've got my card bases, and I have chosen for my card bases lemon lime twist, blackberry bliss, and gorgeous grape. Okay, so they're going to be my card bases. So hopefully we've covered all there. Now I've also pulled in some extra cardstock here. So I've got an extra one of each of those colours, but also a little piece of gold because I thought what we might do is use the bow punch just to do a step up from the cards I did in my morning class. So I don't know whether you've heard of this, but this is a technique that's used a lot even in patchwork where it's a stack and cut, and that's probably why I said layering before, but it's stack and cut, and then with the cards we shuffle. So now I've got the name of the technique that I'm using down pat. Let's bring in my trimmer. Now the one thing I have learned in the last couple of days with playing around with this technique, you need to choose 3 papers for what we're doing today, 3 papers that all coordinate together. And when you stack them, you need to have what you're going, like the paper that the colorway that you're going to use face to the top. Don't sort of think, okay, I'm going to turn it over and use that one and cut it and then change your mind, especially if you're going to be doing angular cuts like I am. If you have, let me just bring in one of these so I can show you. This one here I've cut all on the angle. If you've got 3 sections, you need 3 pieces of paper. If you cut this up into 4 sections, you'll need 4. So another name for this is smack and whack. I think they even use that in patchwork. It seems to be sometimes not much difference between patchwork and card baking in some of their terminology, which is okay by me. So you need to make sure that you've got, if you're cutting this up into 3 pieces, you have 3 designs. Don't have 3 designs and try to cut it up into 4. It doesn't work, or it may not work, particularly when you've got pieces cut at angles like I've got here. So if you're going to cut something up in 4, you're going to get 4 cards, and you need 4 pieces of designer series paper. I hope you can understand that, because I played with one last night where I only cut it into rectangles and squares, and I cut it into 4 but only had 3, and no matter what combination I used, I didn't quite have enough. So I discovered quite quickly, the more times you cut this, the more you need in your stack. So I'm only going to cut this into 3 pieces. So I've got 3 pieces of designer series paper. I'm going to pop them all together. So there's our stack. Stack and whack. Yeah. This is quite fun actually, because you can get a completely different look with each card, or not completely, but a slightly different look. And I think that it can be quite fun because, okay, I'm cutting this one at angles. Well, you could cut this into 3 going rectangles as well. You could cut it into 3 by just cutting it down 3, having 3 panels. Same technique, same way of you needing 3 and layer them. So you could do lots of different designs with this idea in mind. So you're not just limited to cut at an angle. You could cut it on the straight, as I said, or you can cut it into rectangles and squares. Quite interesting. So what I'm going to do, and I found it a lot easier to piece this back together on my mat if I kept my bottom 2 corners intact. And I'm going to show you what I mean there. So actually I can show you on this card here. So if you look at this card, my cuts go from here, which is about over half an inch, up to that. So I'm not going from corner to corner. I'm leaving this corner intact and this corner intact. So when I went to layer this onto my mat, this piece here was the first piece that went down. So I'll show you that as we work along. So what I'm going to do, I'm not using any measurements. I'm just sort of judging where I want my diagonal, my lines to go. I've got to make sure that these are stacked up really straight. And of course, if you have a problem with holding and working these all together, get a paper clip, hold it together, or a dog clip. I don't think I've got either of those around. Don't have anything there in my little toolbox. But having one of those, if you're having issues with keeping all your sheets together, that is a good way to do it. I'm just trying to get that back on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this under my trimmer here, and I'm going to work out what angle I want that at. So I'm going to do it at that angle there. Make sure you've got a new trimmer in, a new blade. It will cut much easier with a new blade because you're cutting through 3, and I probably wouldn't cut through really any more than 4 altogether. You may have trouble getting that through. If you're not sure whether you've got it, just run your blade back through a second time. Hold everything in place and take the first one out. Keep all those together. And now we're going to turn this around. So I'm keeping my folds all together. I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to do another angled cut across here. So I'm keeping these 2 corners, which are going to be at the bottom of my card, together. Well, they don't necessarily have to be at the bottom. I could move it around to the top, but they're the ones I'm going to lay down first to give me my layout and make it easier to get this all laid out well. So there, my cut's done. So I'm going to keep these so you can see there's my pile there. Now what I'm going to do is work out my layers. So I'm going to take that one from that, and I like to lay these out individually so you can see them like this. So then I'm going to work out which pieces are going to go with what. So that one could go with that one. You can put that one with that one, and that with that. And the third one can go into there. So you can start seeing now how some of these are going to fit in together. Okay, so that's how I'm going to pop those onto my cardstock. So I'm just going to pop them, keeping them up there. And I think that if you're new to doing this, if you've done this quite a bit, you probably wouldn't need to do this step. Excuse me. But I'm just going to keep them in the piles so I can see which one I'm going to do. So now I need my basic white cardstock, which is my mats, and I've got 3 of those. Now this is a really good way to create, if you've got to create a lot of cards. Okay, so if you're creating a batch of cards, this is a great way to do it. And as I said before, I'm going to start off with this bottom piece here, because what I want to do, once I can get these bottom pieces right, then that will allow me to get the rest of them pretty right as well. So I've cut this 1/2 centimetre bigger, so I want 2.5 millimeters roughly around those 3 edges. So you can see once I've laid that in, and I've got it even on those 2 sides and the bottom, then that will help me then to come in and grab the next piece. And layer that one, and we're just going to slide those in there together. And we're having each piece butting up to the other. Of course, if you wanted to, you could play around with your sizing and have a bit of a gap in between each one. But I quite like this where it all butts together. It's just like a patchwork quilt. Now, also too, what you could do is run that through a cut and emboss machine with an embossing folder, which will give it another layer of texture too. But that is I'm not going to do that today, but that is just something else that you could also do. So now we're just going to layer up the next one, and as you can see, it is a fairly quick technique. It's not too difficult, and you don't have to plan too much. You still have to have a bit of an idea of what you're doing and plan a little bit. So how is everybody else today celebrating International Women's Day? Now, what I would love people to do is make some cards, go onto my business page, or even Keep on Stamping with Michele page, and post any cards that you've made in the comments in regards to International Women's Day as some of the cards that you've made for today. Now, you don't have to make multiple cards for that. It could just be one card. Doesn't even have to, it could be a birthday card. These are going to end up being thank you cards because it's something I tend not to make too many of. So I thought, well, we need a few. I want to see if I can move this over just a little bit. Probably a little bit out of line there, but don't know whether I've got any slip yet left. That's okay. They are handmade cards. But yeah, post a card that you've made using purple, greens, and whites. You don't have to make the card today. It could be any time. Just make something and pop it in there. Or even if it's not a card, even anything that you've created in those colours. Even though maybe it's not created for the International Women's Day, just created for something else, because some people, these are nice colours together. And share what you've created with us, Always love seeing what other people make. How did I go with my machine embroidery? I ended up not doing it. I was making some velvet bags for a gentleman who was giving one of them to his son for his wedding, and it was an afterthought from him, and I don't play with my embroidery machine enough. I've had it for a few years now, but I just don't get it out enough. That was just a little bit out of whack, but that's okay. Don't get it out enough and play with it enough. The first one I did without anything on top because I thought I'd just see how it goes, and it definitely needs something on top. But it was slipping, I think, a little bit. Even I don't know whether it was in my embroidery machine slightly out, timing slightly out, but I was getting a line of stitching where the satin stitch wasn't coming quite back over it and covering it. So I don't know what the cause of that was. And it's not, as I said, it's not something I've done a lot with. So I've had a lot of play with it. I have a lot of fun with it. I like doing a machine embroidery on towels, and I've done that quite a bit. When I first got it, I used it all the time and did a huge amount of towels and sold them at markets and things, but I haven't done anything like that for a long time. So it was fun to do it, but I spent probably good 3 hours that morning mucking around with it, and by the stage I got to where I was and I hadn't done the embroidery on the bags, and I thought, oh, look, I just don't want to muck this up because I only had that little bit of fabric and that was it. So it didn't happen. But I'm glad, Deborah, that I can go back to you and ask you about it. Okay, so let's get our card bases and fold them in half. I'm hoping, because at the moment my sewing room and my paper crafting room is all in one room. I have my desk behind me, and on that I've got my computer, and I do all my blogging and everything from there, and I do all my sewing alterations from there. And now that the boys have all left home and all got their own places and so forth, and definitely won't be coming back, I said to my husband the other day, I said, how about I move my sewing down into another room so I can have a designated room just for sewing. I'd love to actually make this room I'm in now designated for sewing, but I've got too much paper crafting stuff in here to move. So I'm hoping that once I move everything down into another room, that I can have a few things set up a little bit, that I don't have to, like I can play a bit more, like I can have maybe the embroidery machine set up in a spot that is more accessible and I can do a bit more of it. So that's what I'm hoping will happen, but we'll see how we go. So anyway, there's our card bases. But yes, Deborah, I will contact you if I need some help. I mean, I don't know how much help from afar, but yeah, it's only a small brother machine. I don't even think they make that particular model anymore. So it's just I was working for Spotlight at the time and got it for a good price. So yeah. Okay, so let's pop. I'm going to turn that over, got a bit of a crease on the other side. Let's pop these now onto the front of our cards. So it's really up to you which one you want to put on the front. You can pop that one there. I'm just going to bring out that green. That one's going to bring out the, I mean, it is a purpley type colour. The Blackberry Bliss. And that one on there, or you could change them around. I think I'm going to stick with that and just glue all of those in. So there's one done. It is much easier when you're doing bulk, lots of cards like this, when they are all the same. And you're just repeating yourself with each one. Hi, Linny. How are you? Thanks for joining us today. We're doing a whack and stack cards today, Lenny. Deborah's given me the correct name for them, which is great. But there's our cards, and now we're up to putting some sentiments on it. So I'm actually going to use the thank you sentiment from the Simply Zinnia. Just use this one here, which says thank you so much, because I thought I could use these as my thank you cards. And I'm going to keep these as strips going right across. I will cut them down. And what I thought I would do is I'm going to stamp one in each colour. So I've got my Blackberry Bliss here. So I'm just going to ink these up. And I'm going to stamp towards one edge. So I've just got my chamois there to clean that up. Grab another one of these. So these are, as I said before, I've cut these about 1 inch wide or 2.5 centimetres in width. Yeah, whack and stack is a quilting term. Many years ago, I did a whack and stack table runner. Only time I'd ever done it, but it's the same principle. You layer everything up together and you cut it all out in layers. Just need my chamois here. I just got my, couldn't be bothered to go and get my other chamois, so I just opened up a new one here. My other one needs to be replaced anyway. And then we've got one more in our gorgeous grape. Just clean that off. Okay. So let me just pop those to one side. And now the question I'm going to be, with my other cards, these ones here, I've just got them going, and I think actually I might do it the same, just the width of the mat. So my mat is 8.5 centimetres wide, so I'm going to cut each one of these at 8.5 as well. So we're celebrating International Women's Day here, Linny. Now I'm going to cut this where my thank you so much is going to be at one end, because we're going to step up these cards a little bit to the ones I did earlier today. So 8.5. Now you could cut this down a little bit thinner if you wanted to as well, which I may do. So I'm just wondering, probably should have even done this before. Just cut this down a bit. Probably should have cut these down a little bit before I cut off the edges because they're not really straight stamping, but that's okay. I might just not so much line up the, just going to keep my cardstock straight and not worry about lining up the, whoops, I think I want, okay, I don't think I'm going to use that. I think I'm going to be too crooked with that. I have better chance with my guillotine. Now I'm bringing in a contraband guillotine here because my other one is actually out in the other room. I just want to cut these down because I think they're going to be a little bit too wide. Just narrow these down a bit. I'm probably making them about 3/4 of an inch finished. No, it wouldn't be 3/4 of an inch because I cut them an inch. So yeah, it could be about 3/4 of an inch finished. Sorry, this cutting machine here is, this guillotine's in inches, so I couldn't tell you what the centimetres are. Because I like to use a bit of post-it note as a bit of a handle to hold this in place. One more to go. Hi, Marie. Coming in late, a cold wind is blowing here. Oh, dear. Hi, Lucia. How are you going? That's okay. I got it from the internet. I thought it was a great explanation also of what International Women's Day. It's a suffragette. They're the colours of suffragettes, so it's got a historical reference as well. So very apt, I thought. Okay, very hot here today and going to get hotter. Oh, you're going to get it really hot tomorrow, are you, Deborah? Don't know what the weather's going to be like here, but anyway, okay, so there's our sentiments all cut, and I thought we would step this up a little bit. So I've got here some gold foil paper. Now I'm not quite sure which one it is because it is discontinued, but any gold would do. And what I thought I would do is cut out or punch out some leaves in each one. So the gold I'm probably going to need a few more of. White I'm going to leave for a little bit because I might come back and add some more in. So at the moment I'm just cutting one lot of leaves in each colour. And I thought the gold could be interesting just to give it a little bit of a highlight, because we've got the white in the sentiment. But again, I'm not quite sure whether the gold I might just use in that little, because we can cut these out with this punch, with the bow punch, you get that tiny little one there as well. So I might just use that in the gold because I don't want too much. All I want is just enough just to add a little bit of difference. And I only need 3 of those for the moment. So there's our little bit of extras there. So let's just have a look. If we pop this, now you can pop this anywhere you want on your card. You could glue it straight down or add some dimensionals. And I'm actually thinking of adding some dimensionals to this. So let me just add a few. Just probably only need 3. This is sort of a little bit of an afterthought. I thought we could just step this up a bit more. Just get a little bit of a different effect. I haven't done the inserts for these cards as yet. Okay, so we could pop that one there. Actually, we need to cut more. I just wasn't thinking. I wanted one of each colour. So I was actually going to have to cut some more of these. Actually, I don't think I'll use that one on there, but I do like those two. So that destroyed that. Yep, I like that. Okay, let's grab a glue dot. So who's liking the fact here in Australia that our daylight savings is almost to an end? I think I'm going to miss it. Waking up in the mornings to the cold, well, not so much, not cold, but darkness at the moment. You can tell when it's so dark. You know, my husband has the clocks on for the alarm on for 6 o'clock in the morning, and we wake up at 6 o'clock, and it's getting dark. Are you changing clocks there Sunday, or do you change your clocks twice a year? We do it twice a year, and it's a few weeks off yet, I think. I'm not quite sure when. If we didn't have Facebook to tell me when daylight savings finished, I think I'd be completely lost at the moment. Who knows what actual date daylight savings finishes? You'll be pleased when it's not so dark in the morning, when it does finish. I think the clocks go back at the end of March, beginning of April. Yeah, first weekend. Oh, that's the weekend I'm away. Well, that's going to be fun. So what I'm doing here is I'm just layering up. These with the glue dot all on top of each other. And I've got a little bit of a glue there. I've got a bit of glue dot there sticking out, but that's okay because I'm going to, and just hold on a sec, folks. I've just got to grab my baker's twine from here. Yeah, I'll be pleased not to see it so dark in the mornings. I'm not pleased to see the cold. But then we really don't get winter hitting us here until Anzac Day, which is the 25th of April. Now, I just want to tie just a little bow. I don't want to tie a huge bow. And we can still have a hot day on Anzac Day here in the Southern Highlands, but it's usually not long after that we get cold. But then I have known Anzac Day and being in my winter woolies at the dawn service as well. So it's always a guide. You spring ahead 1 hour on Sunday and then fall back in November. Hi, Joan. How are you? Yeah, as I said, I never know when daylight saving starts or finishes. It's a good thing Facebook tells me. There's our first card done. Let's bring that up to the camera a little bit. Actually, I might even see if I can just drop this down a touch. Sorry if I'm sending you all a bit dizzy. There's our first one done. And let's continue on with our next one. So we need to punch out some more of the green. Might just do a couple more the purple, whether I'll need it or not, doesn't matter. A bit more of the green, the foil. Okay, let's see how we go now with all of these. Okay, let's layer some more up. So now we've got this one, and our sentiment is that one. There's not much difference between those two ink colours. I don't know whether you can see that. It doesn't. It looks like almost the same. There's only really a few shades difference. So let's just grab some of these. I might even pop this one on at the same time, actually. And of course, this big piece here at the bottom, this piece here, you don't need to have that at the bottom either. You could have turned that around, had it at the top, but turned it after you put it all onto the mat. So it's really up to you. So let's just go back to this one and let's just have a look at our layers here. So I like that. I'm going to put a bit of green. So I'm just wondering, I'm going to layer those two just as something a little bit different. Of course, you could have used your multi-purpose glue for this as well. Just move that. No, that's stuck there now. I am going to have to put another glue dot on top of that one. The other one managed to get covered up, and make a bow and pop it on top of that. Need to make another one a bit bigger. There's that one. Last one. So as I said before, this is just a really good way. I think this time I'm going to pop. Oh, do I want to pop that one down first? I think I might go to that one. Oops, my cord is a bit twisting there. Sometimes this baker's twine wants to just twist a little bit, so you get these really odd shaped bows. I'm not going to let it stress me. Okay. Let me just take that out of the road and bring all my cards back in. So there's my cards. That we've made from that. And this is what, just put them down there. These are the ones we did today in my class today. So same design, and this one is just stepped up that little bit more and using different colours. So as I said earlier, if you want to make something in the purple, greens and whites to represent International Women's Day, please do so and add it into the comments. Take a photo, pop it into the comments of my post on my business page, because I'm sure we'd all love to see what you've created. You can put a birthday theme to it. You can put a thank you theme. It's really up to you. Just make something using those colours or something similar to those colours. And if you haven't got time to make something and you've got a bit of quilting in those colours or a bit of embroidery in those colours, hey, post them up too. I always love to see what people are creating. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you can take away this. Okay, you have to remind me, what is it called again, Deborah? Our stack and... Let me go back in my comments. I did remember it there a while back, but my brain is really fuzzy today. Stack and whack. Our stack and whack for in our card making. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Give it a try yourselves and have a lovely day. Have a great weekend. And hopefully my sewing is starting to slow down a bit. And I'm hoping that next Tuesday I'll be right back on board again for doing another class then. So take care. Have a lovely day. Bye for now. Bye.